like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The paupers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Oh, wow. Sorry, anyone who's watching. I just had a weird glitch in my matrix. But hi! Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. What's up? I'm just here to bring you some random shit tonight. So I'm going to say hey and what's up and tell you some more stories and lay myself bare with some bullshit that I pulled recently and other fun things. But first I'm going to ramble for a moment. I kind of like started suddenly and, oh, does it say it's Steve Poikonon still? I updated it and it said updated. I don't know, man. Maybe it'll update, maybe it won't. This is not a Steve Poikonon episode, but that episode was Sunday and it was awesome and you should go check it out. But yeah, I've had quite a day. It's been awesome. Let me tell you about it. Tell you about some things. Part of my day is that I got some pretty rad subscribers on Subscribestar, and I'm very, very stoked about that, and I hope that people want to go subscribe. I've got lots of tiers from $1 all the way up to $55. $55 sounds like a lot, but what you get for that is a tarot reading every month. That's usually $60 just for one, so you get actually $5 off that tarot reading every month, and you get access to all of the content on the site, which is the audiobook of Sine Curve is up there. I'm up to chapter 7 now. Chapter 8 will be going up any day now. What's up, Kathy? Nice to see you. And yeah, there's also the $22 level, the $11 level, I want to say, $7 level. I may be wrong, but those are all in there and they all have different perks. I like the $55 level the best because if you're someone who likes tarot readings and wants to get one a month, you're actually saving yourself $5 and getting all that extra content. I think it's cool. There's only a couple slots of that, so if you want it, you better grab it because they're going to run out. But there's that, my Subscribestar. Please go at least check it out. You can have a free day and view everything there for free without even signing up. So that's my grace period for people who want to just check it out. And there's lots of stuff there already for you to dive into. So that is fun. If you haven't done it yet, go look around. What's up, Austin? Nice to see you here. And Austin actually just did one of the classes I'm offering. So I'm doing some classes now that I offer. I'm doing $20 a class. It's about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how many questions and how much conversation we get into after the class. The class itself is about 45 minutes to an hour, just kind of depending on how things go. And so it's $20 for that hour. And in the Tarot Basics, I'm covering the structure of tarot, kind of how it's organized, the guiding sort of principles behind tarot and its organization and structure, and a lot of the sort of symbolism that goes along with it. And so it's a good introductory class if you want to get into doing tarot for yourself or for others. And it covers a lot of ground, but in a way that you can kind of absorb it all. And then I'm always available for follow-up as well as further classes. So I'm going to do more classes on tarot. If you've done the basics or if you already know the basics, we're going to do the next class. I think I might do an exploration of the major arcana. They're more, symbolic and rich and powerful. So we might do an exploration of that. And I'm also thinking of doing some classes suggested by some of my students, actually, who have said they want to do something that's more like a, how would you even describe that? Basically, we would all bring a reading that we had already done and we would share our interpretations and then get other people's interpretations. So it'd be a way for us to all kind of grow as readers and get sort of insight into how you do that. Because it's hard sometimes if it's not just coming to you. So seeing other people's understandings and experiences of that is going to be cool. So that's coming up. That's a class I'll offer again if you're interested in Tarot Basics. I'm doing this mostly through Facebook, but you can also email me through the site or through apotropaic@gmail.com, which I'll throw in the chat right now. And you can set it up that way as well if you're not my Facebook friend. If you want to be my Facebook friend, I'm under Lindsay Sharman. You can find me there. And if you're not yeah, anyway, I'm also offering a psycho-spiritual protection class. This class has to do with the basics of just understanding your space and your place in it, how to clear it, how to be strong within it, how to sort of command any entities as you see fit, because it is your space and you are sovereign there, and just sort of some of the principles that go along with that, and how to think about it, how to organize your psyche around it, and some simple things like some banishings and some protections, how to set really good boundaries, and some tools that you would use to do that. So that's all in that class. This class has been pretty popular already, and I've just started doing these things. So I'm definitely going to offer more of those as well. Again, it's $20 just for about an hour and a half, depending on conversation, how things go. So it's a pretty good deal for you, and I'm really happy that I get to share those things with people. What's up, Sue? Happy 3-3 day. Sue and I are having a bunch of synchronicities with numbers. It's pretty fun. So that's cool. And I did not say hi to you, Brett. Hi, Brett. I'm sorry. I just took your feedback and ran. But what's up? And if you are on Facebook watching, just remember I cannot see your comments until later. So if you want to interact, go hop on DLive or YouTube, and then I will see your comments and be able to interact with you more. So those two classes are really cool. And you can also go to my site and grab all kinds of free stuff. There's all kinds of articles, and I've been so involved with everything else. I haven't published a lot of my own writing lately, but there's years of it there for you to explore if you'd like to. And more importantly, there are my books that you can grab if you're interested. Sine Curve comes in hardback and soft cover, and A Gypsy on the Res and Mutable Realia. Those are all available for you. If you do want a copy of Sine Curve for cheaper, you can actually PayPal me, which is the same place you would pay me for a tarot reading. If you want a tarot reading, and you can read about that here. I usually do a 10-card layout for $60, a 4-card layout for $20, and you PayPal me $3. Here's the link, a couple places here. And you would also PayPal me there if you want a copy of Sine Curve for cheaper. If you want it $15 flat, I'll ship it to you anywhere in the United States, and have a little inscription and some stickers that go along with that too, if you want to do that. That's all here on the site. And just want to point out, because a lot of people have come to the site recently, and I have a feeling that some of them wanted to buy Logic tickets. So if you're interested in the Logic event this summer on the solstice, that is going to be near Philly, and you can buy tickets here. So that's where you go to shop on the site, and you can buy tickets there. And you can also get Rogueways gear, which is rad. A lot of it's really cool stuff I love the logo a lot. So that's one of my favorite things, and also a nice way to support me. And of course, I've been pointing out the podcast is back. If you want to get it on SoundCloud, you can. I have the site set up there for that, but you can also get it on any podcast app. It's there for you. And finally, back at Subscribestar, I forgot to mention, if you sign up, I've got 2, 3, 4, I think, people I've sent free books to. So if you want a free copy of Sign, you can sign up at any level except the $1 level and get a free copy of that. So that's all my stuff I got going on as far as I can remember. Is there something else? I think that's all. I just have so many projects, man. But yeah, Austin, buy your tickets. I'm worried that eyes people aren't going to buy all the tickets, and then other people are. And I want it to be an eyes thing, but I think everybody who will end up there, excuse me, will be the people who need to be there. So, and man, I want Kathy to come. Kathy, you make me sad. I know it's not your fault. I wish that, I had a bunch of money and I could fly you out there, but I hope everybody in Eyes gets tickets and comes, because it's going to be really, really fun. And it's been pretty cool because recently Michael Wan was on the Free Zone with Freeman Fly for the first time, and they had an awesome conversation. If you haven't heard it yet, go check it out. And he brought up Logic in the event, and Freeman was kind of like, maybe I should go to this. So we might get Freeman Fly after all. I love Freeman. I think Freeman loves me. I don't know why he wouldn't want to come, but I know that a lot of people just aren't really into traveling in events like this so much at some points in their lives. So I totally get it, but it could happen. Trey Clark, what's up? Boop, boop. So So yeah, we'll see. But at the very least, we still have Ben's going to be there, and he's going to give a presentation. Michael's going to do the tour, which is the main event, and we're all going to get to hang out that Friday night and that Sunday morning, and a little bit on Saturday as well. Claude's going to cook his famous chili, and it's going to be rad. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I hope that everybody gets to come who wants to come. So tickets will still be on sale for the rest of this month, and after that they go up. They go up in price. So make sure you, at the very least, if you're planning on coming, get it before April. April 1st is the day the prices go up. So make sure. And yay, Trey's going to go for sure. That's awesome. Got to get your tickets, Trey. Yeah, and you absolutely have to have a ticket to be there because it costs me money to have people be able to be in that space with us. It's just how these things work. They charge you for having guests in these places, no matter how many there are. So I can't have people come without buying the ticket. But I have agreed that if for some reason it sold out and I had a bunch of extra money, I would give that money back to you guys. I'm not trying to get rich off this. I just have to be able to cover my costs. So it could be that you get money back. You never know. I'm a very honest person. So just know that will happen if that's how it goes. So that's all that stuff that I'm very excited about. I really am excited about the classes. They're super cool, and people have given really good feedback so far. And so I'm excited to keep doing more types of classes. And in the future, I hope to add writing classes. And that's actually the easiest thing for me to teach because I've been doing it most of my life. But it's the hardest thing to figure out how to do from a distance with people in a group and, have it be a sequence and stuff. So I'm just thinking of how to put that together, and someday that'll come together too. But you guys are like, so where's the fucking Jihad? Like, what? But maybe you're not, because apparently the title didn't show up. But this show is supposed to be about my Jihad, and so basically, if you guys don't know, the Western idea of a Jihad is a physical battle where you for spiritual reasons, you go and kill the infidels or whatever. I don't know a lot about that version of Jihad, but I do know, because some of my students taught me, some of my Muslim students taught me that Jihad is actually, the greater portion of the idea of Jihad is actually an internal struggle that one wages against oneself, against anything dark or evil or negative inside of themselves. And so it's like a war that you declare so that you are focused on the thing inside of yourself that you're trying to eradicate. And so you look at it as like this spiritual battle, but I mean, it can be as simple as like, your Jihad is to like stop chewing so much gum or something. Like it can also be like habits that you have that you want to form. And there was actually a sort of like campaign a while ago. When would that have been? I had a site, but I lived in the United States. I'm going to guess that it was like 2010, 2011 or so. There was a campaign that was called My Jihad, and it was to try and like normalize Islam and like take back the word jihad, and it was not very successful, as probably you would know because you've probably never heard of it. Yeah, I mean, I got to be careful with any terminology because everything I talk about is something that someone wants to target, but this is a real word, and it's in the it's part of that religion, it's like, this is a real concept. So anyway, in that campaign, the idea was that they would get people to come, people like you and me, and we would go on this site and we would be like, my Jihad is to stop smoking or whatever, treat my like wife better, some sort of personal goal that you had. And it was cool. I actually liked it because that's when I first was like, oh, I'm going to like, this is a concept you can easily apply in your life. And I mean, oh, thank you, Trey. Goodness sakes. Trey is like my biggest supporter. Thank you very much. And then I get lost. Like, where was I even? Oh, just that you can take these concepts from anywhere and sort of apply them. And you don't, like, I don't know why the word jihad makes it like more likely that I'm going to apply this, because we all have this concept in our lives that we want to like improve, self-improvement and get better and better all the time. But for some reason, that was like one of the moments where I was like, yeah, this is a thing I should do. I should intentionally find parts of myself I don't like and like fix them and get better or whatever. So I like that. I like that term and I like that phrase, and I like that it gets people's attention and makes you think. And I think that's part of why it worked for me. It was like, jihad, that's a bad thing. But I was like, oh, it's actually good. It's like part of that is effective. But yeah, getting closer to God. Exactly. Thank you, Arwen. That's how I'm going to say your name, even if that's not how you say it. I hope it's right. So yeah, so I like to apply this concept throughout my life. And hello, Gordon. Welcome. It's awesome to see you. And so I like to, when you're picking something that intentionally to focus on, it's more likely that you're going to actually affect it. So it's good. But there's not always you don't always know. We have blind spots. We don't even realize the bullshit that we have, So you can't always jihad against the bad parts of yourself to get better, because you don't necessarily see all the bad parts of yourself. And this is a story about that. And I do not look good in this story at all. And some of you saw this play out, I think, last night. So you already know what I'm talking about. But I'm a dick sometimes. I'm spiritual, and I have a fucking altar behind me, and I teach these classes or whatever, and I try my best to embody really good things in the world and to constantly grow. But I'm a dick. I get caught up in bullshit, and we all do. I'm sure of it. None of us is perfect. And if we were, we'd be a beam of light, and we'd be floating around in some other dimension. And there's a reason why we're here. And I think that's part of it, is that we're just not perfect yet. But we're jihading. We're always heading towards perfection. And so, but it's hard, right? Because you find yourself in situations the last time I think that I was a huge dick, I was driving. It's often when I'm driving. This is really my real jihad, is to not be a dick while I'm driving, because I get really bad road rage. And this girl wouldn't let me in front of her, and her windows were down. And so I said, hey, are you not going to let me in front of you? Which was the first mistake, because if I would have just said, hi, oh, could I get in front of you, please? That's a much more polite way to request something. But instead I was what, you're not even going to let me in front of you? And she was like, yeah, no, I'm not. And I was like, well, you don't have to be a cunt about it. And that was my second mistake, because calling people names is really rude and totally unnecessary. And despite the fact that you shouldn't do it, because she could have then pulled out a gun and shot me for no fucking reason, over getting in front of someone, and it's ridiculous. But it's also just not, why call someone that? And but it's my whatever, my training, my the way I was throughout much of my life. I was very combative, and so I have pieces of this left, and it especially comes out in situations where my ego is threatened or whatever. And I think I've talked about that specific incident before, because I was pretty disappointed in myself later on. I was like, what's wrong with you? Stop it. Arwen says you can only know yourself through mistakes. I think there's a lot to that. Yeah, I think the mistakes are the point where we really find ourselves. The most is the point where we can test ourselves and test the jihad, and see where we've gotten. But yeah. So anyway, last night was not quite the same, but it was a bit similar. And the key, I think this is the key, is that you can start to notice when you have an emotional response that you need to actually disengage, go somewhere else and chill out and not deal with that situation. Because that's, for me at least, when I get in trouble. And so these emotional responses is it takes, I think, a lot of practice and a lot of effort, but that's the first sign, right? You're okay, I'm having an emotional response. And it's never, ever true that someone else should deal with your emotions. It's never true. You should never place your emotions on someone else's doorstep and be these are yours. And now what? That's not the best way. It's going to happen. You're going to do it. And this is why you have people around you that love you, because they're going to forgive you and put up with it and kind of fucking move on. But you just the ideal is that we get to a place where we are no longer doing that, where we're dealing with our emotions ourselves and not throwing them at people, whether it's anger or freaking out, whatever version of it. So that's the first step. And Am I saying Jihad just to fuck with Kevin? Yes. I'm trying to get Kevin to be, see, it'll trigger him and he'll be like, what? And then he'll come in and he'll learn so much about self-growth. But yeah, so trying to like recognize when you're getting emotional, I think is like the key. And this is what I'm not very good at. And probably most of us aren't very good at it. And and I think the part that's hard and that sucks is that in each like specific type of situation, we have to get to the point where we can see that emotion rising and feel it coming and step back, because I think like with each one that you win the Jihad eventually, like there's going to be another one that's like the similar situation but just slightly different, and it's like a new sort of trigger or whatever. I hate that word, but you know what I mean. But yeah, so that's the first step, I think, is like, what, I'm being emotional, let's recognize that. But last night I didn't. I just got emotional. I got angry. And when I get this emotional feeling, like many people, I have, that fight or flight, whatever, attack or retreat sort of response. But and I've always been like an alpha female or whatever you want to call that, like a kind of dominating sort of energy. And people make the mistake of thinking I'm an extrovert. I'm not. I'm just alpha. I'm actually like right on the middle line between extrovert and introvert. You wouldn't know because I have this show or whatever, but when I'm in a room of people, I'm like not always in the limelight or whatever. I'm not always in the forefront. I'm often in the background because I am kind of introverted. So, but I am alpha, and I do have the tendency to attack instead of retreat. Almost always. Like that is my mode. I like go for the jugular and I kill. And I had if you've listened to any of my stuff, you kind of know I come from a traumatic background. I have CPTSD. And so that's probably part of it. And I come from a dysfunctional sort of family and childhood. And so I have a lot of negative patterns of emotion. So it's been a lot of work to get to where I'm at, and a lot of really good work and positive work, and I'm happy for it. But a lot of work. And so but I have that like as part of me. And so I used to be like pretty nasty. Like I've always been who I am and a good and happy person. But I also had a long period of time where it was like way more likely that I was going to attack anyone for any reason. I'm very lucky that I saw people who loved me through that. So I have that like vicious sort of alpha domination or dominating sort of side of me that I've worked really hard to not to tame or suppress, but to actually like deal with and heal. And some people still are like, you're very aggressive. And I'm like, no, I'm assertive, which in itself is very assertive to say. But I do think that it is really important to be assertive. But there's like this really fine boundary sometimes between assertive and aggressive. And like, yeah. And sometimes I push too hard and it's not great. But warm but firm is how I describe it when I'm in my teacher mode, right? You always want to be firm. You have a boundary that cannot be crossed, but you're still kind and nice and warm about it. So I like that idea, warm and firm at the same time. I think that's a good ideal to have. But yeah, my defense mechanisms, I really easily fall back into them because they're so easy and they're so well practiced and they're so effective. I'm really good at getting what I want when I'm in that mode because a lot of people are not aggressive and a lot of people are the opposite. And when they have that emotional response, they retreat and they back up. Sorry, I'm just closing my Facebook so I don't have all those dingings going on. So yeah, that's what when you learn something's effective, then it reinforces it, even if it's negative. And so I've had that reinforced a lot. And so it's been something I've had to realize that I don't want to do to people, and to try not to do it to people, and still have, assertiveness and with warmth, warm but firm, but not, yeah, be assertive. Give this episode a thumbs up. God damn it. And subscribe and hit the notification, and then go subscribe to Subscribe Star. And it's interesting because James True has been on the show a couple times, and he talks about how ego is actually a good thing, and how, when people are acting in the ways that I'm describing, they actually don't have enough ego. And the more I've sat with that, the more it like really resonates with me. It's like the reason why I acted like that all those years was because I didn't have enough, and because I had a fear of losing the little that I did have. Like I grew up in poverty, and a lot of stuff that I did need and didn't have. It felt like I had to like fight for things. And so I learned that, and I didn't have enough ego. I didn't have enough confidence and enough of what I needed to sort of build that foundation of strength that would mean that you never had to lash out in that way. So I agree with him in that. And I think it's interesting because I've always thought of myself as a pretty confident person. But that would mean that at some level I'm not confident, and maybe have never been very confident, if those are the ways that I've acted. So yeah. Do I have a management spirit, and do I like to take control of projects? Yes. In fact, I like to work alone on projects because I don't trust that other people will do anything worthwhile. I'm a control freak for sure. Part of my CPTSD symptoms were a hyperfocus, which if you know much about ADHD or PTSD, hyperfocus is when you're like so focused and sucked into a thing that even like a small stimulus can like send you like jumping with over response. What's that called? Startle response, like a hyper startle response or whatever. Like I get like focused and sucked into things. Not as much anymore now that have gone through PTSD therapy, but I have that. I also have a Virgo. I forget what house it's in or whatever, but it's in one of the ones that would make me like detail oriented. So you want a project done, like I'm the person, but if you want me to do it with a bunch of other people, I'm not the person. That's one of my weak spots. But yeah, so I do think that there's part of this that's like building up your real ego, like your actual confidence, like your faith in yourself as a person, and your faith in your ability to continuously like provide what you need for yourself, and that sort of ego. I think that he's right on with that. I think that ties into this. So yeah, me being an alpha, me being a person who takes control of situations when I feel like they need to be taken control of. I also am very, very protective. And this has to have come from that same sort of background of maybe I was seeing other people get hurt and didn't want that to happen. And excuse me. So, yeah, I just am very protective. Like my most attacking I ever get is when I feel like I'm protecting someone else. Especially if they're innocent in any way in my mind, or if like incapable or something in my mind. And so an example, the time that it was the most pronounced to me, because these are all things that like when you're growing up, you kind of hide from your parents. Like, no, I'm totally not a dick to people, and I don't smoke, like I'm a great or whatever. And so I was driving with my mom one time, and my sister was there too, and we were at a gas station, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but some guy like flipped her off and yelled at her as he was driving away. And like my response, like I flew out of the car and slammed the door and like was running and was like, "Where are you, motherfucker?" And this guy's like old and has a car, and I'm like gonna run after him on foot and fight him or something. Like I really will fight. My largest attack response is gonna come when I think I'm protecting someone else. So that's part of this story as well. What's up, Drew? Nice to see you. See who else has shown up. So yeah, all those things come together in me to create a possibility of like a pretty direct, aggressive attack. Oh, but I would like to not be like that anymore. For the most part, there's a time and a place for everything. But last night, somebody popped up in the Eyes Open group, and it's someone who had popped up on my radar like a few other times. And if you don't know, this is a group that I helped create with a lot of the people who are in there, and who I run it with a few other people, but I kind of have like a leadership role in there. And so I'm pretty protective of it, and I'm pretty protective of the people in there. So that there's the protectiveness aspect. And so, yeah, if people do come in there and they're like disrespectful to my friends or the community that we've created or something, like I can be like kind of vicious about it. But I'm pretty good because I know that about myself. So I kind of tend to temper it. But not last night. This person who had popped up had been in a couple times, but for as far as I knew, was like pretty new and not that well known. And she wasn't rude or bad. It was just like, for some reason, the few times that I had run into her, she struck me as like possibly disingenuous and possibly there to like lead people. There's people who come in there to just troll or like try to get people in trouble or whatever. And that pisses me off. So I thought maybe she was like that. Did I say hi to Daryl? No. Hi, Daryl. I'm so sorry. Hi, Daryl. Hi, Daryl. And so I kind of was like already wondering what this person's motivations were. And then they were talking in a way that like does not seem in line with some of the like pretty basic seeming understandings in the group. So I was like, what are you, some kind of troll in here, like poking people? So I got a little bit more heated and I was a little bit more direct and was like, what are you doing here? And this person responded in a way that's totally normal and acceptable. In fact, the way she responded was exactly how I would have responded if somebody were doing to me what I was doing to her, which was like probing and poking, like, what are you doing here and what's your goals? What are your intentions? Like protecting my people. She was very calm and she was very assertive and she was very factual and very rational. And I was like, yeah, but like, what about this and this? And then she just wasn't budging. And I got like this very strange response. And I was like, screw this woman. And I not only became attacking, it was like, well, this person's stupid and they think, I didn't actually call names. I don't think. Maybe I did. I was pretty stupid in the moment. But I was definitely like poking, being rude, being pretty aggressive, not assertive, but aggressive. I was trying to get other people to like join in with me, which is fucked up. Like that is so wrong. I hate it when people do that. I think it's like, that's not how this works. Like we all just say what we think, rationally and calmly, and like that's what prevails in the end. And so why would you like trying to get people to gang up? Like that's not rational at all. That's not cool. But I was doing it. I was like, look at her. Look, she's doing this, trying to get people to like not like her. And she pointed out, she's like, she's trying to make me look like this. Why is she doing this? And I was like, and then that made me even more mad because that's also what I would do. And so like part of what was like triggering me was just that this person was basically like really, really similar to me. And so I guess there's something in there too where I felt like my like identity was threatened or something, which I do remember when I was in high school. I had this really stupid thing about identity where like I would get mad at people if they even had the same name as me. This is like so dumb. I'm like, you're not the real Lindsay. I'm Lindsay. Like how petty. But I was a kid. I was pretty petty. But now here I was like doing it again in a way, but like not at the same horribly petty level, but like pretty petty. Like who are you being like rational and calm and assertive in my group or whatever, and not automatically like falling into some imagined like line that I had or whatever. It was really, really childish. Really, really childish. It was pretty disappointing. And just to like back up for a second, before I got that childish last night, I have like a generally pretty sound long-term practice of self-analysis, and that's part of like the whole healing process I've done with PTSD and other things. Is that's part of it, is you go to actual therapy, psychotherapy, and you like learn how to like analyze yourself and be present in your emotional responses so that you can start to like trace them back to their origin and really, really heal them, like figure out where they came from and stuff. But it's this ongoing process forever. You do it forever. And so there's that in me. Like I have that skill set and that penchant sort of. It is cool. Eyes does have a lot of Lindsays and they're all badasses, and I no longer have an issue with Lindsays. In fact, I love all of our Lindsays. Now I have like the opposite thing where I'm like, see how cool Lindsays are? We're all over the place, which is also stupid. But yeah, so I have this sort of practice of self-analysis that it becomes a habit. You start to be like, wait, why am I doing this? Like, why am I having this emotional response? And sitting with it and sort of tracing it. And it just becomes a habit. And I highly suggest that all people develop this skill, because this is how we grow. Is you can only really do it for yourself, and you can only really see yourself if you intentionally look at it and look for those little triggers and clues and trails to find. And so this is why, in the moment of me being like pretty assholey to this person for no reason, why in the midst of it, I was like, even as I was like still attacking her, I was like, I'm sure I'm projecting somehow. And I actually like said that in the conversation. So I was just like, all of a sudden it like hit me. I'm like, why am I emotional at all? Like, what's even happening right here? Like, did this person actually do anything to me? No, like there's nothing that this person did wrong at all. Like, why am I acting like this? So I like, in the moment, I was able to stop and be like, wow, I didn't actually stop right away, but I noticed. I was like, at least notice, like, oh, I'm being an asshole for some reason, you know? And I kept being an asshole for a minute. But I also said the thing about like, I'm pretty sure I'm projecting some shit right now. And she was like magically somehow calm enough and present enough and like not defensive enough after being attacked pretty directly to just be like, yeah, you are projecting. Like, I wonder why. I wonder what it is about me that is like making you see some part of yourself that you hate. And then it like hit me and I was like, oh, I make people feel like she made me feel when she was being calm and assertive and factual and rational in the face of like something that I was emotional about, which I do to people all the time. Like, they're emotional and I'm like, let's look at this calmly and rationally and factually. And then they're just like, fuck you. Like, that's not where I'm at. And why are you, you know, being so detached from this or whatever? It's kind of robotic seeming and like not, and that's not what she was doing even. Like, the whole point is I was projecting that onto her. But then I was also, so I was able to see, like, it's so hard to explain somewhat. I was able to see two different parts of myself that were not actually cool at all in this one moment with this person, who the only reason why I was able to is because, like, first she presented the thing that like apparently triggers me, which is like a mix of protectiveness and another like alpha female being calm and assertive at the same time or something. Those two things. And she was able to like stay like chill in the moment and recognize that none of it had anything to do with her, which is always true. If somebody's like emoting at you and like attacking you, it has nothing to do with you. It's always 100% them. And that's a really hard truth to believe. But once you like really know it and experience it over and over again, like, you see it's super, super true. It's never, ever anything about you. And she knew that. So she was like chill somehow in the face, which I don't know if I would have been able to do. I would have been like, fuck you, bitch. Like, attack back, you know, sort of thing. So I have a lot of respect for this person now. But in the moment, I didn't necessarily. In the moment, I was still like, I'm angry for some reason. And it's all about you. And then but the point that is cool, well, there's a couple. But one is that, like I said, I was able to like in the moment actually see it and stop and say, whoa, what is this even about? And step back and then put my foot in my mouth and or whatever, eat the egg off my face or whatever they say, and like humble myself and be like, dude, I am a dick and I'm sorry that I'm being a dick. And it doesn't stop what I had already done, unfortunately. Like, it doesn't stop the fact that I hurt a person, or maybe I didn't hurt her because she seemed kind of okay. But like that, realistically, it probably would hurt most people. So it was just fucked up, and it doesn't take that back. You can't take it back when you're done. That's why we want to stop doing it, because you never know when that's going to be like the thing that pushes someone over the edge, you know? Like, I don't want to be the person who like called the lady a cunt in the fucking traffic stop and then like she killed herself later that day. Like, I don't want to be a part of the awful, horrible negativity that exists on this plane. I don't want to add to it. And so I'm trying to like extricate myself from that web of shit that just like keeps self-perpetuating if we keep feeding into it. And it really goes back to this idea that like, if you heal all of yourself, you're going to heal all of the world. So even stupid shit like this like matters deeply in the giant like web of things, you know. You're adding either to the pile of shit or to the pile of gold, and you want to add to the pile of gold, or I do. So thank you, Drew. I do want to self-correct. I did self-correct, and again, it doesn't take away what I already done, and so I don't want to be like too self-congratulatory, like good job, because like the real point is also that I fucked up. But they're both true. You gotta like see both of it. They're both true. I did fuck up, and I was a very childish asshole and like sank into some like really old bullshit. But yeah, that's the jihad, is to get rid of that bullshit. And I did in the moment. And so I liked it in a way. It's embarrassing. Like, you can go read the exchange that we had, and it is embarrassing because I'm a dick. Like, you know, and you can go find it. If you're in Eyes, you can find it. It's got like something like 400 back and forth. Like, we went for a while. But you know, I don't necessarily want you to, but at the same time, I think it is kind of cool to see this example in like what was real time of someone being a fucking asshole and being triggered and acting out this like old shit, and then stopping and being like, wait, I literally am projecting right now, but I'm still mad. But like, and then this other person being like, well, what are you projecting about? Like, and like actually helping me to see it. And then me being like, well, fuck, damn it. And then, and then my like shitty apology. So this is the other cool thing. So after I apologized, and she was like cool enough to just be like, yeah, this is life. Like, we're all fucking trying to process through this shit, and some of it's dark and messy, and it's kind of nice when you find someone, unfortunately, who will like help you mirror at you your bullshit and just sort of stand there and wait for you to like see it and, you know, take it apart. That's pretty cool. Like, that's a pretty powerful person in your life all of a sudden. And it can come at any time. It's mostly going to be our like loved ones, you know, because these are the people who we're most safe to let our bullshit out in front of. Unfortunately for them. This is why we love them so much. They put up with our shit. But it's really weird when it's just some random stranger online. And then you can go through that whole process with this person who you don't know. Really weird. I'm still weirded out by it. But it gets weirder. I'm just going to pause and see. What's up, Kyle Lewis? Nice to see you. I think that's all who showed up. Well, there's some people lurking who aren't even saying hi, so hi to them too. So yeah, so the other weird thing. So we're talking, and then I'm realizing this person's actually just really cool, and I'm so dumb. I'm so embarrassed. But we're talking, and she's like, do you want to know something that you're going to hate even more, or maybe love? And I was like, what? And she's like, I have a page. I made a page. I make metaphysical objects, or, you know, creations like crafts and arts. They're pretty cool too. She's really good. She's a tattoo artist, and she does some pretty cool work. She's like, guess what the name is? And I was like, oh God, it's going to be Rogue something, isn't it? It's like Rogue Ways, you know? She's like, no, it's here. And she links to it, and it's called Eyes Open. And that's the name of the group that I made. So I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, like, what are the chances? And I'm like, who fucking knows? Like, none, zero. The chances of two alpha females finding each other in an online group, arguing about, I think it started with vaccines or something, and like getting into this place where we're like actually like fighting. Well, I was, she wasn't. Actually fighting, and then like hammering it out, and then being like, oh wait, you're projecting, oh let me help you figure out why you're projecting, let's solve this problem, and then maybe like actually solving it, and then getting to the place where we're friends, and then realizing that you both started a page called Eyes Open. Synchronicity cascade is right. So then we were just laughing. We're like, wow, I wonder when in like the scheme of things our souls got together and we're like, you know, it'd be rad, let's do this. You start a page called Eyes Open, and I'll start a page called Eyes Open. You come in, I'm gonna attack you, and then we're gonna like figure some shit out and heal it from like way back when. Like, what the fuck? But that's life. Life is so fucking weird. This is horse shit, says my boyfriend. It does actually happen. We both were laughing. We're not even joking. We're like, we literally like arranged this on the astral level, and it's like so fucking hilarious. It's so ridiculous and awesome. But it's really, I almost was like emotional then in the opposite way, where I was like so grateful. I was like, thanks for like going through that shit with me, like random internet stranger, you know, like that's really nice of you. Unfortunately, to like get on the receiving end of some of my crap and my attack, but also to then like stick with it long enough to help me like see some shit that I could heal. So it was a magical thing actually, and I'm like really grateful. And I consider us friends now, and that's pretty weird because I know with guys it's like a little bit more likely that you're gonna like have that dynamic where you're like enemies and then you fight finally and like now you're friends. But that's not how girls work. Like we don't at all. I've never had that happen one other time in my life. It's pretty rare, but yeah. The entire context. What are you talking about? I told the whole story. That's all that happened. Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. What's up, Alan? What's up, Red Moat? Yes. Eyes Open Club. You know what else is funny about Eyes Open? When I first started it, Windows 10 was kind of new to me, and I was like, I used the search function to try and find like the logo I think that I had made for Eyes Open. So I typed in Eyes Open and searched, and instead of pulling up that, it pulled up like an internet result for Eyes Open Network, which at the time we were doing an Eyes Open Network because there's Steve Poikonen has a show and Ben Balderson had a show at the time and Claude Furry had a show at the time. And so we had like, we all kind of supported each other and we had like the Eyes Open Network. And so I typed in Eyes Open Network actually. Anyway, it brought me to this other Eyes Open Network and I was like, what? There's another Eyes Open Network? And I went and there's like another Eyes Open Network. And it's also sort of conspiracy, like occult, like fringe, and like political content. And I was like, what are the fucking chances? Like, so actually I was going to interview that guy a long time ago. And then he has just run into like problem after problem and health scare after health scare and all these things. And so it hasn't happened, but there's a lot of eyes opens apparently in the world. And apparently a lot of us actually have our eyes open, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Steve Live. Oh yeah, I know I changed the title, but it just doesn't, it didn't change. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. Jeez. She really was a blessing for me. I'm very grateful. I told her, I was like, I'm sorry. I'm grateful for you. And like, this is pretty awesome. And it's even more awesome that she's like cool with it. Sadly, someone came and read the thread the next day, this morning, and got like really upset and is mad at me now, but like, I guess that's just one other level of projecting onto things and having to like deal with that in yourself. So hopefully that settles at some point too. But I think we all like get what we need, you know, we're projecting because we need to solve that thing. And, you know, I think that's kind of why we come into each other's lives. And sometimes it feels really good and sometimes it feels really bad. But the point is that I hope that we can all get closer and closer to being more self-aware and analyzing ourselves, that we can start to get to the point where you see it, hopefully not even in the moment, but in the moment is good enough. Like that, like I did it and that was cool to see and to experience. But what would be even better is if we got to the point where this is our jihad, this is my jihad at least, maybe you can make it yours, that we get to the point where we stop it before it even happens, right? That we sense, okay, I'm getting emotional, like just stop now and go like figure that emotion out before you re-engage. Emotions are very important parts of our lives that are there for a reason, and we want to follow them. We want to heal them, and we want, if they do come out and we do cast them out into the world, it's for a purpose and it's for a good constructive purpose, or destructive if that thing needs to be destroyed, but at least that it's intentional, and not just this reaction that creates more bullshit in the world. Oh, Ben, I didn't even know you were here. Ben was there for the whole thing. Ben watched it happen. Ben was part of it. I'm sorry, Ben. But thank you also for being there. I'm sure that was a help in some way as well. But I want to also give a warning, because I think there's this thing where you get too into, and I'm also going to teach you a method of self-analysis if you want to stick around for that. That's something that you can take from this and apply in your life and get closer to, you know, being in the place where you no longer just react and add shit to the world. But yeah, Ben was a weird ass part of it. Which is rad, because Ben has been my teacher in very significant ways as well and helped me change my life in positive ways. So it was like two teachers at once and one time. Very humbling. And there's another one of my teachers in this chat. I mean, in a way, you're all my teachers. We're all each other's teachers, but some just a little bit more pronounced. Arwen, yes, I am also on YouTube. So when you see me like talking to other people, that's where they are. That's where the majority of people are, is on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, again, I can't see your comments unless you go to DLive or YouTube. So I stream to Facebook, DLive, and YouTube all at once. And so all of those places can chat, but I can only see DLives and YouTubes. But the mistake that sometimes people make, and the one that I want to warn you about, is the mistake of getting like so into the sort of psychoanalysis mumbo jumbo and so into the self-analysis mumbo jumbo that you do it fakely. And that's like the biggest trap. Lots of people fall into it. Lots of people are doing it. Lots of people do it in, this way that, like, if you're at like an interview and they're like, tell us about your flaw. And you're like, my flaw is that I try too hard. And it's just like bullshit. It's like, that's not a flaw and you know it. So, doing that in this sort of spiritual or psychoanalysis level is like really, really, what's that word? Tempting. It's very tempting. It's very easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally dealing with my shit, man. But actually you're the fucked up one. Like, I really I'm like doing some shadow side work. And what it's showing me is that you're really toxic. It's like, that's not how this works. And there's even, a podcast, that someone who used to be my friend, has, and it's about self-help and self-work. And so you'd think that, that would be like a pretty powerful and positive thing going on. But when we had an interaction that was negative, on the show, actually, this person was like, what I learned about myself is that I trusted that person too much. And it's like, no, like, that's not what you were, I mean, that is, I guess, what you learned. So I don't know if the person's dishonest, but it's not true, like, I'm going to say in 100% of negative interactions with people, like, you both fucked up. You both did something wrong. Unless someone just somehow like flew through the window and like stabbed me in the face randomly, like that type of shit, I guess. But like, for the most part, your interpersonal relationships and interactions really are a two-way street. And so if you get to that point where you're like self-analyzing, but all you're finding is that everyone else is fucked up, like, you're not doing it right. You're really not. There's shit that you're doing wrong too, and you gotta like look at that and be really honest. And so I guess that's why I like talking about these things, because I like to be really transparent about that, because I'm sure there's shit that I'm not owning and not seeing yet and whatever, but I like to show that it actually takes some like humility, and like you're gonna be embarrassed and you're gonna have to like eat your words or whatever. Arwen is new here among us. Welcome, Arwen, to YouTube. But yeah, don't, I mean, you don't want to like beat yourself up to death either. Like, you're not a piece of shit no matter what you've done. You can always like heal and grow and move forward. So you don't want to go to either extreme where you're just like, I'm never wrong, everyone else always is. I never have the flaw, it's always everyone else's problem. Everyone else is toxic and it's not me. But you also don't want to go to the side where you're like, I constantly fuck up and I'm gonna try to take responsibility in every fucking thing that ever happens. Like, here's the thing I did wrong. Like, I think people get like addicted to it too. Because there is sort of like some kind of a dopamine response there, right? Some part of me is proud of myself for what I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it at all. I would just like hide under a rug and pretend like it never happened. But yeah, so be careful of that possible pitfall, right? Of thinking that it's everyone else and never you. So yeah. So the practice. It's a good one. And luckily, it's pretty easy. Anyone can do it. Even if you've never done any kind of psychotherapy or counseling or, whatever, self-analysis or anything. You can apply it tonight. You can start today and make your life better, make yourself a better person, and fight the jihad. Kevin wants to fight a jihad, I can tell. But yeah, so here's the thing. Every day you probably have something where you fucked up or where you felt some sort of an emotional response and like got negative in some way. Every day. Like, let me think of one today for me. I guess this is like a really stupid one, but someone was like screaming across the street and I get like agitated. I don't like screaming. And so, and so I was like looking out the window and I was like, who is this? What the fuck? Ah! And it was just like a kid being a kid, like being like a normal kid. And I was like, ah! I was like an old woman angry. So there's a little stupid one. It's not very important probably, but it can work. If there's nothing bigger in that day, then there's that. If it's something like, oh, I attacked a random internet stranger because they challenged my ego or whatever that I didn't have enough of to stabilize my confidence in that moment, then you do it with that one instead. But either way, you're going to take that thing, and as you're falling asleep is probably the easiest time to do it because it's probably the time that you have to actually be calm and sitting with your thoughts and, intentionally sitting with them and following them somewhere. So I think that's a good spot. If you want to be more specific about it than that, then that's probably even better. If you're like, I'm going to sit at 7 p.m. every day in this chair and I'm going to like do this practice, that's probably even better. But you can do it when you're falling asleep. And it's pretty simple. All you do is as you're laying there, you just like close your eyes and you think of that moment. You're like, okay, I was like at the window. I heard the screaming. I looked out. I got angry. And then you stop there like, okay, why did I get angry? Like what makes me angry in that moment? And you just kind of like let yourself free associate. And maybe it's like huge. Maybe you're like, oh my God, it's because like my dad used to yell at my mom and like that made me really uncomfortable and scared. And so I'm angry now and like whatever. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's like really, really simple. Like I just don't like loud noises. I don't know. I don't know what it is because I'm not you. But in that space when you're following this, that's the point, is you want to follow it until its end. And if you don't get somewhere, if you don't go to, if all you get is like, oh, there was other times I was also angry when there was a loud noise or whatever, oh, it reminds me of like this other thing. And you're basically just trying to free associate and follow until you can follow it as far as it goes. And hopefully you get all the way back to the beginning, because there's usually a thing. There's usually like a moment that you were hurt or scared or didn't have what you needed or whatever. And you can find that. And if you do, that's great. And that is like the best thing that you can achieve. Because then now you can just like let that go. You can experience it and honor it and let it go. You can't make it go away, and you can't like suppress it forever, and you can't fight it away, and you can't keep getting angry at noises to make it go away. Like all you can do is find the source of it and just like hold it and be like, yep, that is how I felt back then. That's okay. And it goes away. It's seriously like that easy and that simple. But you do have to find it, and you do have to like look it in its face and be like, yes, that is what you are. You are this moment, and this is how I felt, and that is just what it is, and there's nothing wrong with it. And if you can do that, it will go away. If you can't get back to the source of it, it's still a good practice because you're still getting somewhere. Like wherever you can get in your mind, like maybe that's as far as you can get that day. Maybe the next time it's going to be something jars something even deeper loose, and then you can follow it further. And so, yeah, you are basically rewriting the memory. You're going back and you're finding it and you're like putting it back into some sort of sensible order that it wasn't in before. So that's a good point. It is like that. And yeah, it is like magic. It's like after that, if you're doing this, well and frequently, and you actually can get back to a root and actually can heal it and let it go, like that thing actually won't bother you ever again. It just won't. It's crazy. I have so many examples in my life that I could go through that like they're just gone. I just am not bothered anymore. And there's some I have left that I really want to figure out. I haven't yet, but I will someday, So this one that happened last night, I did that all in that moment. I was like, oh shit, this is all that thing. And this is all like, fuck. I'm just like, gone. So my hope is I really did do that, and that I will no longer like get triggered by strong women who are like possibly threatening my friends or whatever the fuck I thought was going on. And that I won't react that way in the future. That's the hope. So yeah, this is a really good practice to do like every single day. Make it something that you do, make it part of your routine, that you're like, today I'm going to, focus on this one. It's best if it happens in the same day, But you could do it, the next day or the day after. It's just going to be harder for you to reconnect with the details of like what triggered you and how you felt in the moment and be able to follow it. So it's better if you do it in the day of. I don't know, like now that I'm just thinking of it, I don't know if you can do it like right away, like in that moment, if I would have stopped and went and sat down and maybe that would have been the best time to do it. I'm not sure. I've only ever done it slightly removed, but in the same day. But yeah, it can be really powerful and it's so simple and you can do it anytime. So I'll check in with the chat before I see my next thing. Ooh, yeah. That thing where you worry so much that you're just like stressing yourself out and you just like can't stop fearing these things that are not even right in front of you. That's a hard one. That's a really, really bad habit to be in. There's something about, being in the moment. It's hard because there's some situations where if you meditate and you're in the sort of like scattered, frantic state of mind, it can actually like make you even worse. But there's a lot more times, a lot more frequently, that if you're, stressing or emotional or whatever, that meditating actually can help a lot. And one of the meditations that can be really good for like fear and sort of almost like panicky sort of stress, that's all sort of focused on the future, is that sort of really simple meditations that bring you back into the moment, like the tapping things. You like tap different parts of your body, and it's just sort of to like remind yourself that you are here in this body right now, and all that's happening is that you're tapping yourself and there's nothing else happening. So that can be nice. Or the thing where you list things that have to do with sensation. You can list 3 things that you hear right now, or list 5 things that you see, list 5 blue things that you see, list 3 things that you could taste, list 5 states or whatever. It's better if it's sensory details and it's right then and there, but you can actually do anything. And those are just to like get you back in your body in the moment. Taking it from there is a whole nother thing. That's its own practice, right? That's its own jihad, where you're gonna like have to keep yourself in the moment, keep yourself from like going into the future and worrying about what might happen. We could do a whole show just on that. But oof. Someone just, Brett shared an experience where he was in a class where he had to raise his voice. Everybody was raising their voices and a lady began to cry. So she was being triggered to some bad experience. It is interesting. Sound is like really powerful too, I was having this like day the other day where I remembered like, wow, listening to music is really cool because I'm like weird. I love music, but I don't listen to it very often. And so when I do, it's like this really powerful experience for me. So that can bring you back in the moment and kind of rewire your experience as well. That can be really powerful. But angry sound can be like pretty bad too. But yeah, okay. So the other thing I wanted to point out was how some things that are good, some things that seem good are bad, and some things that seem bad are good. Like protectiveness seems pretty good. You're like, I'm protecting the innocent, I'm protecting my friends, but more often that protectiveness, at least in me, comes out as like violence and attack and aggressiveness. That's not good, right? Or like this sense of community. I'm like, we're a community in here and we're here together and this is what we're doing. Like that can be really good. It's transformed a lot of people's lives in really powerful ways. Communities at all levels and experiences can be really, really fantastic. But then they can also be really bad. Like if you get like cult-like about it, it's obviously bad. If you get like too insular or too like echo chambery or too like, everybody's in this line, this is how we do it here, like that can be bad. So there's like aspects of community that can be bad even too. And I was reflecting on this last night too about like why was I triggered and what were the different aspects and some of these things were coming up and, being an alpha female or an alpha male, like that can be good. It can sound good, like we need a leader, we need an alpha, but then it can be bad because you can be like abusing that power, I guess, or however you want to think of that. And fear is not really ever good, is it? I don't know. I mean, I guess we need it, or else we would just like die at the hands of a lion or whatever. So we like need some fear, but it just generally tends to like promote us into doing things that are pretty destructive and fucked up. But at the same time, like all those things can be good. You know, being alpha can be great. You can need a leader, and you can need someone who can like make decisive action and whatever. And you know, being having a community obviously is good. Being protective can be like really good because you do need people who will protect innocent or just incapable, less capable people in various ways. So you need those things. It's just like when they misfire that it goes wrong, or when it's like too much or like imbalanced, you know? And then even attacking, you know, like there's a reason why we attack. There's a reason why I learned to attack. There's got to be like things that you attack, and that's actually a good thing. You know, I always use the like example that hopefully will never happen, that if someone was about to like smash a baby's skull in or whatever, like I would attack the fuck out of them, and that would be a great thing. It would be really good. All my aggressiveness would come in handy finally. But otherwise, like attacking is obviously not good. It's almost always misapplied in our current society because we don't have like a lot of danger or badness to attack, or when we do, we never attack it. I don't know why that is. We're just like all kinds of backwards. So we want to get to the point where we want to jihad to the point where our protectiveness is actually protecting who needs to be protected and is not misapplied to people who either don't need it or like not in this instance or this time. And a point where we're, you know, if we're attacking something, it's because it is evil or toxic and needs to be destroyed, and it actually is harming people. You know, and when we're alpha, we want to do it in times when people like need a leader, and not when we're just like being a fucking ass for no reason. And yeah, we just want to make sure that we're channeling all of these energies for their right applications, because they do all have a place. It's just if we're imbalanced about it, that it's trash, and it leads us to adding more shit to the shit pile and bringing more shit into ourselves and creating a shitty world instead of a golden shiny world, which is what we want and we can get, but we have to like make it in ourselves first. And so we're gonna jihad. That's right, Kevin, I said jihad. I feel weird naming our NSA people Kevin though, because that's Steve's NSA person, and also we have a Kevin who's awesome, and we don't want him to think that we're talking about him. So I think we need a different name. And I don't know, maybe Chad works. Can our NSA agent be named Chad? Chad, you know you want to jihad with us. Let's do it. Let's get it done. I'll check in with the chat again. Arwen, the giant spirit network out there, like an internet. Dude, you're speaking my language. This is actually something that I've been talking about. It's in my books. It's in both books. You can't read the second book yet, but you can find it in Sine Curve. And I've been talking about it with Michael Wan recently. If you go on Subscribestar, you can watch some of Michael Wan and I's videos where we're talking in preparation for Logic this summer. And we talk about that too. I literally believe it's a real thing that's in the etheric, and that we can use it, and that it can be used against us. And I think it can be dark and it can be light. It can send any energy it wants, but I don't think the people who are currently aware of it and using it intentionally have our best interests in mind. So I think that network, that web, is being misused, and that we should get back to it, guys. We got to get reconnected to it, and we got to make it as golden as possible. Use it for good. But we have to do that in ourselves first. Otherwise, we're going to be putting shit back into it. We don't want to put shit back into it. Hi, Phoebe. What's up, Phoebe? Some do not feel safe in their own bodies. It's right. That's part of why if you're like really disassociated and you try to meditate, it can be pretty bad, pretty disturbing experience. So you do you do want to be careful with anything you're trying and just make sure that it's something that works for you and that you're not just doing it to like do it. You want to be really conscious of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and if it's good or not. Trust your instincts, trust your intuition. The darkness wants the lights out. It's absolutely right. It's a spiritual battle we're in. It's fought within ourselves. It's a real thing. We gotta keep the light alive. Chris, I hope I said hi to you. I don't remember. Hi, Chris. Religion does not matter. It's true. This is part of the thing that I teach in my both my tarot class and my spiritual protection class, that it doesn't matter what tradition you're from. They all have the exact same principles, even when you look closer at them. And you get down to like the bare bones of it. They're all the same generalities and principles and fundamental basics. And there's differences for sure. And there's a lot of shit. You got to dig through the shit to get the gold. And it doesn't matter where you get it. It can be anywhere. Chad, our NSA agent. Oh, we can have a Karen. Yes. We have a female and a male NSA. We're very, very egalitarian here. Very balanced. Karen and Lance. I don't know. We got to vote. Is it Lance or Chad? You decide. By the end of the show, we'll know. Have I ever shared dreams with people I knew on the internet where we could both remember the communications? I don't think so. I've rarely done that with people I know really, really well. I guess the closest I came, we had like a group for remote viewing, and we were practicing remote viewing, and some people who are doing that are in this chat right now. And that was really cool, and we were pretty successful. We had some interesting results, and we stopped doing it for some reason. I'm not sure why. But that was the closest I guess I got to like random internet people, and sort of, although I've had really profound, really deep spiritual experiences with a bunch of the people in eyes in ways that are just like what I just described, but with less fighting, maybe more profound. I don't know. Which is how I met Benjamin Balderson. It is interesting when you look at kind of big, like events worldwide, like 9/11 and these things. Some people have, a lot of people have dreams leading up to it that seem to predict it. But I don't know that that's not really the same. They're not like in the same space at the same time with a shared experience. So, but at least it's like they must all be attached into it somehow in some way, or sharing with each other. But, yeah, I guess I'm gonna wind down then. So, I actually am thinking of starting up the remote viewing things again. It's not a class. It doesn't cost money. It's just a thing that we just do. And I'm wondering if I should do it in the intention meditations group, because there's a lot of people in there that are already into meditation and visualization and stuff. So it's kind of a similar vein. So I might do that. If you are in Eyes Open or in Facebook and you want to be involved in that, let me know. Reagan brought it up and I was like, yeah, maybe we should restart that. That'd be fun. And now here it is coming up again. So maybe I will. And otherwise, I hope you guys, if you are into it, want to go check out Subscribestar. Like I said, there's some stuff from Michael Wan and I for getting ready for Logic, which you can buy tickets to on my site. CoreySharman.com is the site. You can also go to rogueways.org, and you can also get some gear like shirts and stuff. And I already closed to the classes, but don't forget, if you're into learning more about the basics of spiritual protection, psycho-spiritual protection, I am doing classes on that. I am also doing classes on tarot, the basics of tarot, and then the next level of that is going to be, again, where we share our readings together and share experiences on that to get better and improve our tarot skill if you're in those classes. And And the next level of the psycho-spiritual protection class is going to be one in which we do some very protected, very safe journeying to try and connect with our spiritual allies. So if once you do the psycho-spiritual protection basics, just so there's some skills of protection and discernment in there that I teach that I would want anyone to have before they did any journeying. Then you can do that class and try to, if you haven't already, try to kind of connect with your spirit guides or allies, or however you want to think of that, your higher self in various forms, or however you think about that. So that is something that I'm offering if you're interested. I'm put my email address at the beginning of this chat if you want to email me about those things. If you're not already connected with me on Facebook, if you're connected with me on Facebook, it's real easy to just see the events I'm creating and get involved with one of them. So really good feedback already, and I'm excited to offer more of those, like I said. And I'm excited to eventually put together a writing course to do more with writing fiction and maybe nonfiction too. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. It depends on what the interest is, but so far it seems fiction is the way to go. So lots of classes coming up, and soon I'm going to just put that on my site too, so that it'll be easier for people to get involved with it. But I just haven't done it yet. So anyways, it's been awesome to talk with you all today. Keep in touch. Come back Thursday, where I think I will have Dr. Hamamoto. I am real bad and forgot already his name, but that's going to happen Thursday. So I'll see you guys here for then. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, including the coronavirus. No fear, no fear, no fear. Don't fear. Don't feed it. Just know that you are well in yourself, and that you're going to be fine, and that your spirit already is organizing all the things that you're going to experience, and that you can trust in that process, and it's going to be okay. The bookshelves behind me look very authory. It's funny because this is actually all Johnny's stuff, and this is my stuff. I just have like Yetis and altars and my family. He has like actual books. But yeah, my email, I'll put it one more time in the chat here. There. And I am very, very grateful to the people who donate to keep the show going. I love the donations. I appreciate them very much. I also really appreciate people who are purchasing tarot readings and classes, and that's a great way to support me as well. And my favorite is Subscribestar, because there's just so much fun content there, and I love being able to provide even more stuff for you guys to do and think about and play with. So anyway, yeah, Johnny, I taught him to read. He can finally read, and he's reading all of these books here. But yeah, thank you everybody for being here. And as always, take care of yourselves. Practice the following your emotions back to their source. Do that practice every day, and be able to jihad against those parts of yourselves that are hidden in there, waiting to snag on things and disrupt and harm yourself and others. Take care of that part of yourself so that you can add to the network of gold that we're all connected with. We want to keep that shining throughout all of the darkest darkness that might be coming. All right, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak, while the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can tell a vision filled with lies disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God gets booed is sorcery. To recreate a God forgery. There's more than meat that meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Henio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me, yo?
material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional 3 ain't beating me on top of the 4th. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with ink drizzle, branched out. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing baggage, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasp hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. But nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking
Run.